How's the bacon, did you say?
Batistuta! Oh, what a fantastic hit! Roy Keane on Haaland. Here's Sancho. Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again!
Yep. Hello and welcome to the Prawn Sandwich Podcast, Season 3. I am Nathan Cupid and as per usual joined by Jamie Jackson and Dylan McKenzie.
Hello.
And once again, the guests are flying in left, right and John Mentor. We've got a Birmingham City fan with us today, Mr. Huw Jones. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So we'll
Cheers for coming on, mate.
just dive straight into it. Birmingham City, mental week. How's thoughts on the current situation with the Brummies?
Well, it's been mental since we founded, really. I don't think we've ever had a boring, 5 minutes, let alone a season. I think our current situation is a mess, really, would be the best way to describe it. We've flirted with relegation pretty much every season for the last 5 years. We had Karanka in, thinking he was going to be the saviour, and it wasn't. It's just, I think there are so many problems with our club right now, and I'm sure as Sunderland fans, you know the feeling, as top to bottom, it is just a mess. Like, I think that's just at the bottom of it. We've got a manager in now who was a Blues player, won the cup with us 10 years ago, and hopefully can try and... It's one of those that it's kind of like, if we go down, will we be able to rebuild? If we stay up, are we just denying the inevitable? I feel like we're in this kind of middle bit at the minute where whatever happens, it could just end badly.
It's not fun going to League One, I can tell you that.
No. Was it really 10 years ago since you won the cup?
It was 10 years ago, like last week or the week before.
Wow.
It is insane. It's been downhill ever since. Literally, I think the next game after we lost, and then we went down. So I think that was our peak.
Oh shit! Yeah, you went down that year as well.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's never like we never have a season of just mid-table obscurity. The season we had a mid-table obscurity, we got a point deduction, and a fan ran on the pitch and punched Jack Grealish. So we never have just a quiet season.
You do come across as a bit of an all or nothing club.
I think we're a club that we don't have a lot of high expectations, really. I know it's awful to say that, but we're a club that kind of like we'd just be happy really to have a season where we went in a relegation battle, to be honest, or
just beat the Villa.
Oh God, I don't think. I mean, last time we beat them was 10 years ago. I mean, I've never seen us beat them, which is painful. I've been going about 15 years now, so I think beating the Villa is probably as likely as us winning the cup at the minute. But we hope.
Are you optimistic about Boyer coming in though?
I am. I think you can't doubt what he's done with Charlton in an incredibly tough league. I think League One and League Two, but League One especially, is such a tough league to be in. I mean, I followed as a second team Wycombe Wanderers for a fair few years, and they kind of, got by just overachieving. And I think it's such a tough league to be a big team in.
It is a difficult league to play in. But let's see what Boyer can bring to the table, because, like you say, even then his job at Charlton was a bit topsy-turvy, so it's kind of like jumping from a frying pan into a fire, so to speak. So we'll see how we can deal with it. I mean, if he's been a former player and he's won the cup 10 years ago, so hopefully the fans will get on his side.
I think we're at a point where Isa Karanka was a manager that I think had a good reputation. I mean, I know he got Borough promoted, and he was a good player. He was a sensational player, and I think he came in and everyone thought, this is finally going to be the season that we stop just starting well and avoiding relegation battles. And we were right in a sense, because we didn't start well. We just had a relegation battle from the start. I think he made mistake after mistake after mistake with us, and I think we are a team that, as I said, we don't have a lot of high expectations, so we don't expect really flashy, brilliant football where we're gonna, be getting promoted or be in the Premier League, because that's just not Blues. We're just not a club that plays wonderful football. We never have been. We won the league by playing 4-5-1, having a stupidly tall Serbian striker, and just basically being hard to beat. And I think any manager that has come in and tried to play fancy football, it just doesn't work. And I think Bowyer, he gets the club, he gets the culture of the club, I think he's a manager that knows how to deal with difficult owners. Our owners are mistake in different ways, really, in that we're on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, so their kind of focus is keeping us on there. Club-wise, they keep saying we're going to get to the Premier League, but I think it's just so many mistakes. And Karanka he didn't fit the club. The players, I think, are players that very, very quickly give up on managers and fall out with them, and then they just pick and choose when they play. I think Bowyer will root that out. He's not going to stand there and, as a player, he was never a player that was going to take any nonsense from anybody, really. And I think that's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely won't stand from that from players. Like you could see from the result the other night. Didn't one of the players celebrate his goal by mocking Karanka's pose at the end of games? I thought that was quite funny.
It was one of the. It was such a Blues response, but it's also. Harley Dean is a player that came to us from Brentford with a lot of hype about him. He was, I think it was Harry Redknapp came in. Everyone once again thought he was going to be the saviour. Spent loads of money, and I think we're still backwards from where we were then. And I think that's kind of. Part of me that goes, yeah, that's wonderful. Karanka is a manager that I've never hated a Blues manager. I've been lucky to. We've had some shockers. We've had managers who were really bad, but I've never hated a Blues manager the way I hated Ida Karanka. And I'm quite. I don't like to be. I don't believe in sacking managers. After 10 games or even a season sometimes, unless it's really bad. And I think we've had 10 managers since in the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. It's something insane like that. And he made the same mistakes. He said, I can't play 4-4-2 because we played that last season and nearly went down, despite the fact that he was playing different formations that were actually taking us down. He was very stubborn about positions, and I can't play this player because I need. I think his best one was I couldn't make a substitution against Wycombe Wanderers because we needed to keep our concentration, because Wycombe Wanderers are a very good team and very hard to beat. And I'm sitting there thinking, as much as I love Wycombe Wanderers, they're bottom of the league. Like, there's a certain element that's like, surely you have to at some point go attacking, and he never did. His game plan was, I'm going to sit back, we're going to play 20 defensive players, and we're going to hope not to concede. And then we ended up just losing every game.
Need some more Britishness, as David Moyes would put it.
Oh God. Now, well, hopefully now with a change of manager, there'll be a change of fortunes. But it sounds like it's the owners that are the main problem. And there's no surprise Harry Redknapp leaving a club in a worse state that when he found it after spending loads of money.
Absolutely,
absolute
fraud.
That's just
Harry
Redknapp. He's the
Redknapp.
taskmaster for doing that.
Oh,
that's it.
absolute
Calling
fraud.
card in football.
I think it's just, as I said, our whole club since they took over has been just error after error after error. And I think it's similar, isn't it? It happened to you guys at something in a very different way, but a similar thing. Charlton themselves, they've had it. There's been so many clubs. Portsmouth, Coventry have been ground sharing with us. There's so many clubs that I think have been allowed to spiral. And I think the common thing is that just people who shouldn't be owning football clubs are allowed to own football clubs.
It's not. We spoke about that at the start of the season, didn't we? And especially last season with Bury and Bolton and like the whole thing with Wigan as well that went on. It's like the EFL don't care when it comes to approving who owners are.
Yeah.
Like there's no way the checks are thorough enough, and you look at the way clubs have run and how clubs have fell purely down to being bought by total scumbags.
It's not nice, like.
It's a tough situation, isn't it? And of course, in some cases, you just don't know who's going to take over. But I think that the problem that we have is that the support to clubs and the amount of crooks who are getting control of clubs, and the Berry boss. I mean, you mentioned them. They were just allowed to. It's almost like he wanted them to go out of business, wasn't it? To sell on whatever he was doing. And I think it's just, how many times is this going to happen to clubs that I'd love to say Blues were a big club, but I don't think we can quite call ourselves that. But we're still a club with a lot of history, and I think it's just so much. We had our chairman before this group was someone who went to prison in Hong Kong for money laundering. and even then, he was chairman from a Hong Kong prison for like 2 years. I mean, I think the EFL. I think that I am very against the EFL as a group. I think they are. I'm not going to be the one that says they're biased towards Birmingham, because I don't think they are. I just don't think they're very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of investigating needs to happen in the EFL for sure, definitely. So we'll move on from the current situation, and we'll move on to your first memory supporting Birmingham City.
See, I was very young when I went to my first. I think I was 5 when I went to my first game, or 6. So I think that, but I can kind of vaguely remember a Blues team in the Premier League with Christophe Dugarry, who, I mean, this was about 2004, 2005. So it's probably more things I've learned since then. But like that, him against, was it Southampton? There was games he played that I can just remember, and even at that age, like he was a sensational player, really. I mean, I think he was probably he is the only World Cup winner we've ever had in our team, and I think just Christophe Dugarry in general will probably be my first memory.
Yeah.
At the time, that was massive, wasn't it, when he signed in that January transfer window?
As I said, for me, it's like, well, as I said, I was very, very young, so I'm not like, but I just know a good player, don't you, sometimes, and he was just one that was like.
Well, that's the thing. Even at the age you were, you would have heard like older folk like talking about him and stuff, because surely he would have been all anybody that was a Birmingham City supporter spoke about at the time.
We don't sign players like him. Like, we don't have that kind of. We have players that probably overachieve a little bit, and a little bit more like Lee Bowyer, who will just come and headbutt you, rather than Dugarry, who will just score worldies.
I don't think Steve Bruce has signed as big of a caliber player since, has he?
I don't think he has he? I think that was like that team that we had in that season, and a lot of this now for me is what I've gone and learned, as I've got older. But that team we had, I think, when we got promoted, and we had Dugarry and players like Martin Granger and Robbie Savage, and like the team we had at that point were just to think that we didn't do more with that team. And I think it was more just, I think that must have been Invincibles season, but like the team we.
I think Birmingham went up via the playoffs in 2002. I can't remember who they beat on penalties in the playoff final. Darren Carter scored the winning penalty. So it was the 2 or 3 season that Dugarry signed in the January. And I think Birmingham got relegated with Sunderland in the 05-06 season. So there was like 3 or 4 seasons where Birmingham were in the Prem under Steve Bruce.
Because my first season must be the 06-07 then, when you must have gone up as champions and we went up second. And then I think, was it West? West Brom went up in the playoffs.
Derby.
Derby County.
Yeah, we've just had a Derby fan on, Matt.
Yeah.
He's spoke in depth about Derby's playoffs, but that was one of the few, well, like the only playoff that they won out of about 7.
I hate playoffs. I'll just come out. I know you guys talked about this the last weeks, but I'll just say the playoffs, unless you win it or you're watching it, they're just terrible.
No, I agree. We said the same ourselves.
Yes. So first match you ever went to?
So as I said, 6-07 season, we played Coventry at home. 3-0, I think we won. It was probably the back end of that season, so we were actually winning games, which was nice. Who scored? DJ Campbell scored 2. What I'm saying, like he was actually that team as well that went up that we had. I think we had Nicholas Bentner up front, who's got like 20 goals before we just went mental. Gary McSheffrey was in there, and we just had a generally good team. But yeah, and Raji Jahidi scored the second goal as well. I think that was, and DJ Campbell got 2. So a nice kind of local derby for my first game. It was a nice introduction. But yeah,
that season I thought that Birmingham had the strongest squad in the championship.
I think we, as I said, a lot of it now for me is looking back. I think we did our typical thing, and we're really good up until a certain point. I think we had a really kind of good, running, and then we played Preston on the last day, and it's like get a point, and you win the league. And of course we didn't, because we just we can't get promoted and win the league at the same time. That would be ridiculous for us. So we've done that a couple of times, and but yeah, I think we just like the squad we had, and there was players in there that we've always had quite underrated squads. I think when we were like really I say at our best, I'm talking about championship here, but it still for us was our best. And I think we still had like a Premier League team, because we were the yo-yo team for years. This was right in the middle of the yo-yo period, and I think it was just a team that somehow was almost too good for the championship, and in the Premier League almost they got relegated, but we never got relegated. Like we were never like Derby, who had 11 points, or we always took it to the last day, looked like we were going to stay up, and then like shot ourselves in the foot in like the last 10 minutes or something. It was a bizarre time. As I said, there's never just a getting battered or just winning season. There's always something in between.
Go down with a fight though. It's more entertaining that way.
I sit here and think this is sometimes it's hard when you're like losing, what was it, this season 4-0 to Derby or whatever we were doing, but at least it is never boring. At least you're never like Ipswich, I think 25 years in the championship just kind of finishing mid-table. Like at least something happens. But
yeah, exactly. So we'll move on to favourite ever player.
Oh, I had there's one in here that I think you guys as Sunderland fans will find quite funny, and I don't know why. It's just he isn't my favourite, but it's one that's got to be up there. It's got to be Lee Camp. I'm sorry, like
mate.
Lee Camp for us.
I had you really high when you said DJ Campbell, and now you've just gone the complete other way.
Oh my god.
Lee Camp. This probably says something about our last 5 years, but was one of the best keepers. Literally, it's because he signed for us, and obviously we've had all the feedback from Sunderland fans. I was at the first game he played for, and he's the first Blues player to ever be booed before he started a game. He was booed because he was doing they do the warm-ups and they shoot him, and he just fumbled one. And like as I said, the first Blues player to ever be booed before a game, and I know it's a really weird one to say, and we signed him, and I thought like this is the worst signing we've ever made, and we've made some poor signings. We signed a 38-year-old Alexander Hleb who couldn't even run anymore, but there's just something about him, and part of me was kind of like, why do I like him? Like he had the most kind of unique way of saving the ball, and
why not?
He didn't save the ball at Sunderland, mate.
Honestly, he made some howlers, but he also basically kept us up in the last couple of seasons, and I think the shock to everyone, and he was just such a, I don't know, I think he'd just be one of those Blues players that we always like the players that know they're not very good but try, and I think he was one. But I haven't chosen him as my favourite player of all time, although he's up
thank
there.
God.
Sebastian Larsson, I think, takes it. I also had Nikola Zigic, who was the 6 foot whatever Serbian I referred to, and Djukovic, who's also a big striker who scores goals. But Seb Larsson, I think, as a player, what he was able to do for a period of time as well. Like we signed him in the 6-07 season on loan, and then I think he ended up staying till 2012. And to be yo-yoing from the Championship to the Premier League, and to be one of the most productive wingers in both those leagues, considering we're relegated, he was just one that there's always that player, isn't there, that you just know is capable of a bit of magic. And I think he just has to be. Some of the goals he scored as well, and these free kicks, and that one against Tottenham where he scored from. Yeah,
that was that McLeish's first game in charge. That one it was 3-2.
And I think he has to, as much, Djukovic has been a great servant to us, and Sigic scored some really important goals, but in terms of quality and what he did over a period of time, it does have to be Sebastian Larsson.
Oh, you've definitely rescued it after that camp.
Honestly, I'd have loved to come here and say Lee Camp was terrible for us and go with old Poppadom hands and stuff. And okay, he couldn't catch the ball to save his life, but honestly, I think because we had such low expectations for him to be able to actually play well and keep us in games, it was just, I don't think he'll ever play that well in his career again. I don't know how it happened, but it did happen. I was there. I maybe I've just, after all these years of being a Blues fan, I've just gone completely crazy and actually.
I think you maybe caught a good 5 minutes.
As I said, I went to every home game pretty much, and most of the away games in those 2 seasons, and it is one of the weirdest things that I'll always remember. It's like Lee Camp, the player who was known as Poppadom hands and couldn't catch a ball, actually came to Blues. I think it probably shows just how terrible we were at the time, and in that he was the best player. But I think he's a bit of a Blues legend because he wasn't great, but he was just the way he saved the ball. I say saved loosely, but the way he dived and stuff.
You're never going to convince us otherwise that Lee Camp was an absolute fud whose hands were made of Poppadoms.
I'm going to have to start the Lee Camp, a support fund. I won't find many people, but we can try.
You're not related in any way, are you?
No.
That must be the only way.
Honestly, everyone's going to be listening to this saying, this guy is absolutely mental. But Lee Camp, Blues legend.
You've convinced yourself that Lee Camp is your favourite Birmingham City player you have in the last 2 minutes.
I think so.
Right, move on.
I just feel like,
okay. We've got your favourite ever goal. Favourite ever goal.
In terms of quality, you've got to talk about that last one against Spurs. There's another one here that is completely mental, and it's Omar Bogle against Stoke. It's probably the best goal he ever scored from probably about 30 yards out, culling it into the top corner on Boxing Day. Another thing that you'd have to see to believe. But I think when you talk about favourite ever, it has to be Obafemi Martins scoring a last-minute goal at Wembley to win the cup. It was probably the easiest goal he'll ever score. However, I remember literally, I went with my dad saying he's missed as that time stood still. And cup final. There's also Sigic against Villa in the last minute. I mean, we score a lot of last-minute goals over the year, so I could be here forever going for them. But I think that for Blues to win a cup final, like let alone get there, but to win the whole thing, it just doesn't happen. So I think it has to be that. It's got to be.
Good job.
I like it.
I like that, yeah.
I'm sure there's been a few, but worst moment as a fan?
Well, in my notes, I've just put most things. Every Barnsley game that we have ever played against them, because we normally get battered. It's always terrible. I'm normally freezing cold. I remember losing 5-0 to them on Sky Sports in the snow. I think it might have been so. Anyway, it was terrible. Playing the Villa often goes terribly. I think who is it? Yeah, that last game where we played them at St Andrews. We thought we've really got a good chance of beating them today. You know, the ground was really bouncing, and then bloody what's his name runs on the pitch and punches Jack Grealish, and like every time we play them is awful. However, I don't think you can have a worse moment than losing 8-0 at home to Bournemouth. Everything happened in that game. Got a man sent off after like 3 minutes. We conceded penalties. We missed a penalty. They scored 8 goals. See, there's a comic aspect to that. Whereas the Villa games are just no positives to take. Whereas Bournemouth is just like, how high are we going to get? But yeah, I think anytime you lose 8-0 at home, has to be down there really.
That's we've lost 8-0 away, haven't we? But I don't think we've been beaten 8-0 at home.
I've got to just look, especially when Mark Pugh's getting a hat trick.
Mark Pugh got a hat trick.
Dear. Who was in goals for Birmingham City that day, by the way?
It was Darren. Did you know what the funny thing is? Do you know who was in goal for Bournemouth? It was Lee Camp.
Lee Camp was in goal for Bournemouth.
For Bournemouth, and they beat us 8-0. Yeah, honestly.
I went for Dylan to do the check on his foot.
I didn't want to be an arsehole, but he wasn't.
Was he not?
No, it was Artur Boric.
Oh,
In goal for Birmingham was Darren Randolph.
Yeah, I remember Darren Randolph. He was a good keeper, actually. I remember, I think we conceded the 4th and he turned around and just started arguing with the fans. But yeah, I'm quite sad Lee Camp wasn't in goal now. It's a couple of years.
He had 2 seasons at Bournemouth, to be fair.
He must have. We always get battered by Bournemouth.
I've just scrolled down. He's on the bench, to be fair to you.
He's on the. Well, there we go. It was morale. He raised their morale. I don't know why I've suddenly become a huge Lee Camp fan. Like I don't listen to this and go like, what the hell has happened? But no, yeah. We always get battered by Bournemouth, and I think we've got 4-0s, 4-2s. Like they always batter us. Although not since Lee Camp has left Bournemouth, so there we are.
No, fair dues. Best moment as a fan?
Carling Cup. It's got to be.
It has to be, really, isn't it?
That whole run, it started by us barely beating Rochdale, nearly going out to a League One Brentford on penalties. Then we played Villa in the quarterfinals, beat them in the 89th minute after we had a goal disallowed that was over the line, but they give it as not. Played West Ham 2-1 down or 3-1 down at half time in the second leg, came back and won like 4-3 or whatever. Craig Gardner scored, Bowyer scored, Roger Johnson, and then of course winning in the last minute. It's like the most Blues run that could humanly be possible. So it has to be that, and winning at Wembley, as you guys finally know, is a very, very good experience.
Nice. I like it. So before we get into your favourite 1 to 11, Jamie's got a nice little quiz for us. So pens and paper at the ready.
Pens and paper at the ready, everybody. The last quiz was with Matt Darby, who won. So the guests have been doing all right.
Is it about Lee Camp?
Well, this quiz is themed around because the quiz that I did for Matt more favoured the guest, so I've tried to make it a bit more fair on our hosts as well. So it's a quiz on who played for both Sunderland and Birmingham City.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Can't wait to lose this one.
So basically, I'm going to give you clues, and there's 10 clues and there's 10 players. So after each clue's for each player.
All right. Okay.
Simple. The first one's nice and easy. Question 1. Swedish heartthrob who was lethal from set pieces.
Is it Lee Camp?
I can safely bet I can move on to question 2. You've all got that one probably.
Yeah.
Question 2. Former Northern Ireland international goalkeeper, now at Swindon Town.
Fucking.
Oh.
Republic of Ireland centre-back who joined Birmingham after the 2002 World Cup.
Oh.
Question 4. The central midfielder that left Birmingham for Sunderland before returning to Birmingham, but via West Brom. Question 5. Former Everton youngster who played for both teams, scoring 2 goals in a total of 38 games combined for both teams.
2 goals combined for both teams.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Everton youngster.
Yeah, former Everton youngster. Scored 2 goals in 38 games. And that's
I'll stick with that. I'll stick with what I thought it was.
all his stats for Sunderland and Birmingham. Number 6, Northern Irish striker with 20 goals in 79 appearances for his country. Question 7.
Yep.
Scored 10 Premier League goals for Birmingham between 2002 and 2005, and only scored 1 goal in 1 game in the Premier League for Sunderland in 2007.
God almighty.
One goal in one.
1 goal in 1 game in the Premier League for Sunderland in 2007, but 10 Premier League goals between 2002 and 2005 for Birmingham.
I think I've got that one. Now that I've said it, it's probably going to be wrong.
I don't think I do.
Do you need another sec on that one?
No.
Sound. Question 8. Sunderland loaned this winger to Birmingham in 2016.
Oh, jeebus.
He must have been shite.
Yeah.
I can guess it was.
Loaned him to Birmingham in 2016.
He played 10 games
For Birmingham, Russ.
for Birmingham on that loan spell, yeah.
A lot of mine have just been
First one
stabbing
up.
in the dark.
That's the first one. I've been a lot fucked up a bit.
Next one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So question 9. Birmingham's record signing in 2008 played 3 games for Sunderland in 2012.
Oh god, I think I've got that one straight away, which makes me.
Record signing in 2008.
Yeah, Birmingham's record signing in 2008. I apologise if my information on that is incorrect. I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. when
Nice
I'm giving the
deflection.
answers.
Nice deflection. We're here for crack, not for statistics.
And finally, question 10. Sunderland legend promoted with Birmingham in 2009 and was promoted to the Premier League on 5 occasions in his career.
2009.
Oh, come on. Right, number 8 and 9 are fucking me over. What can you say them 2 again, please, son?
Yeah, so I'll just repeat number 8 again and number 9 again. So question 8 was the winger who had a loan spell to Birmingham from Sunderland in 2016, playing 10 games. And question 9 was Birmingham's record signing in 2008 and then played 3 games for Sunderland in 2012.
What was number 10 again?
Sunderland legend promoted with Birmingham in 2009 and promoted a total of 5 times in his career to the Premier League.
I can't think of this fucking. Was number 8 the winger one again? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, number 8 was the winger.
Number 9 was the record.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
I've got it. I don't know why number 10 took me as long as what it did, but it did.
So I've got a tiebreaker as well in case.
I'll
there's
just
a tie.
I'll just leave it.
All right.
Leave them 2 blank.
It's good. You ready?
Yeah.
Go through. Right. So, do you want to go through yours first, then, Dylan?
Right. Yeah. So number 1, I had Seb Larson.
That's correct.
Number 2, I had Lee Camp.
Correct.
Number 3, I got Kenny Cunningham.
Correct.
Number 4, Craig Gardner.
Yep.
Number 5, James McFadden.
James Vaughan.
Fuck.
Number 6.
Number 6, David Healy.
No, it was Kyle Lafferty.
Ugh, pumping.
7, Stern John.
Stern John, yeah.
I can die happy. Didn't get 8, but now I think that's McFadden.
No, it wasn't.
Ooh. Didn't get anything for 9. And number 10, Kevin Phillips.
Yeah, you got number 10 right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 10 there.
Yeah.
Nath, you next.
Number 1, Seb Larson.
Yeah.
Number 2, Lee Camp.
Yeah.
Number 3, Kenny Cunningham.
Yeah.
Number 4, Craig Gardner.
Yeah.
Number 5, I'd said Jack Rodwell, but it's quite clearly James Vaughan.
Number 6.
I wrote David Healy as well.
Okay. Number 7.
I wrote Dwight York.
Oh man. Did play for both though.
Yeah.
Number 8.
I took an absolute stab in the dark and just wrote Will Buckley.
Oh, you got it as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Number 9.
James McFadden.
Correct. And number 10.
Kevin Phillips.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 out of 10 for Nath. So Huw, pressure's on.
Yeah, this hasn't gone well. Larson 1.
Yeah.
Camp.
Yeah.
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Gardner.
Yeah.
Vaughan.
Yeah.
Lafferty.
Yeah.
I didn't get the next 3.
So you didn't get Stern John,
No.
Will Buckley, and James McFadden.
No, which I'm fuming about. And then I got the last one, Kevin Phillips.
You got Kevin Phillips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7 I.
Is that 7? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, you got 7.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got a tiebreaker then. So we finished with a Kevin Phillips question. So the tiebreaker is themed around Kevin Phillips. What was Kevin Phillips' total league goals combined for both Sunderland and Birmingham City?
Let's stay off.
Closest to it wins. Total league goals.
Total league goals.
Yeah.
And I just put 900 because it's Super Kevin Phillips.
So I'll give you 10 seconds to get a figure down. I'll count in my head.
I just guessed.
Is okay?
Yeah.
Both got a number? Let the guest go first. Huw?
I don't know if I've done him dirty here. I just said 40.
Jesus Christ.
You're underestimating the power of Super Kevin Phillips.
Yeah. You're showing your young age there, mate.
It was great for us, but he wasn't around long enough to.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Nath,
I wrote 178.
you're not far off. It was 152.
Ooh.
So, well done. Well done, Nath.
Oh, I finally won a quiz.
You've won a quiz, pal.
Finally won a quiz.
Happy days.
On
Well
Birmingham
done,
City.
mate. Still an effort, boys. So we're on to Hugh's 11 now, aren't we?
Favorite 11, yeah.
Right,
Formation.
4-4-2. Seeing as I've been going all along about Karanka doing it all season, I thought, well, kind of got to do 4-4-2 now. So go simple. I haven't picked Lee Camp in goal, which is a shame. I had 2 in mind, Ben Foster or Joe Hart, and it's got to be Joe Hart. Like, that's it. Both did the season. Foster did win the cup, but Joe Hart was just like a cut above. Had him in the 9-10 season. Like, there wasn't a goalkeeper like him at the time. The fact we got him on loan is just And Foster was an incredible player as well, but I think Joe Hart, just quality wise, at the time,
absolutely kickstarted his England career. That loan deal, that loan moves to Birmingham.
I think had he not done that, he'd obviously still have done well. But I think it was they weren't sure on him at that point, and he came to us and was just sensational.
Perfect move for him. That
it was
move
quality.
that season, wasn't it?
Well, as I said before, we're a team that has very low expectations. All we expect is just a bit of fight and go out there and do your best. I think that's the kind of team Joe Hart needs to be at the time. And as I said, he's just a different cut over anyone we've had. So that's
Spot
it. Right back, Stephen Carr, legend, captain the cup winning squad, was even 34, whatever he was different level to any. I didn't really have another right back on there. No one got near him for his age to do what he did in the Premier League. The first season you had him, Bowyer, Ferguson. At the end of their career, we finished 9th, our highest position ever, got 50 points. So Stephen Carr as captain, if I could choose a captain as well. Stephen Carr,
nice,
has to be there.
Spot
on. Next, centre backs. This was a tough one. We've had a few good centre backs. Roger Johnson was very good for us, cup winning squad. I've gone first for Scott Dan, who was alongside him. As I said, just different cut above. When he got injured, we were down the minute he went. We had another guy called Jiranek, who was also a very good player for the time, but he was just a different level, and we really missed him once he'd gone. So Scott Dan, the centre back, and then next to him is Michael Morrison, which is probably a shock considering some of the centre backs that we've had. But I think Michael Morrison was a player that came to us when we didn't have a leader. We just lost 8-0 to Bournemouth at home. Lee Clark had departed in comical circumstances, so he came in. He was, I think it was our first signing, and just changed the game for us. We went from 24th to I think we finished. He took over November, brought Morrison in 24th, finished 9th in the championship. So just for he was a lead captain for 3 or 4 years, has to be in there. It's just not an amazing good player, but for where we were at the time, he did an amazing job.
Cool.
I like it.
Left back, I kind of remember that. First was, I don't know if you remember, Frank Quadru.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe people be throwing that name around, don't they? He was a very, very good left. I'm pretty sure it was left, but I think he could play either side. And we had him for a while. Again, he was just a player that we didn't really have a lot of. But I've actually gone for one. This is probably more just for what he did for us. But Paul Robinson does take the left back spot because he joined under Lee Clark 2012 on a 1-month loan and ended up staying for 8 years. He became captain. He moved to centre back and was just again in a poor team, led as well. He even scored his first goal in 20 years for us. So I think he just for the, as I said again, it's not the best player that we had, but for what he did for the club, any player that stays 8 years for a club, you gotta have him there, really.
Yeah,
I like that.
Right mid is Chris Burke. We had in the championship. We got relegated after winning the cup. I think he was McLeish's last signing he made before quitting, and then Chris Hughton came in. I haven't seen many players do what he was able to do, and some of the football we played under Chris Hughton was because of Chris Burke, and he scored some simply incredible goals. I probably should have mentioned for the favourite goals. He was just we got to the playoff fight. We got to playoff semi-final that year, but we were also in Europe after winning the cup, so we played 60 games. But stuff that he did was again, it's this thing of Blues have never had, apart from maybe Dugo or Savage, we've never had really world-class players. But the stuff that he did at Blues was just just insane, really. So Chris Burke, I think, and it's a shame because when Lee Clark came in, he kind of, you know, he went backwards really. But yeah, Chris Burke at right mid, and then left mid got to be Larson. There's no kind of, you know, as we spoke about him in quite depth. He was just another level for us, Premier League and Championship. So Chris Burke and Larson on the wings is what I've gone for.
Nice.
And then midfield, I thought a lot about this. You got to put Lee Bowyer in there now, haven't I? Really, like I think like he was probably there anyway. But Lee Bowyer was just a player that came in towards the end of his career, like Carr did. You know, Barry Ferguson's another who was in that category. They came in towards the end of their career. Kevin Phillips had done it a few years, and they just turned us into a team that you just couldn't, you know, just hard to beat. Came in, we finished 9th in the Premier League, highest position ever for us. And I think Bowyer was just he is one of those Blues players that we love because he'll run on the pitch and he'll just come and kick someone. And we love that. You know, you come to St Andrews, and I think I remember a Villa game where the first thing we did, Keith Dunbell, who's another guy considered for this, ran on and just, you know, kicked Jack Grealish or something and knocked him over. And that's what Blues love, players who are going to go in and not take any nonsense and just, you know, fight. We're not going to play pretty football, but we're going to, you know, you're not going to take anything off us. So Lee Bowyer, Barry Ferguson would have gone next to him if I hadn't have experienced Jude Bellingham.
All right, yeah.
Nice.
I know there's a lot of people who, you know, think he's overrated. You know, there's some who think he's generational, but to see a 16-year-old do what he did on that pitch, like there was, I mean, we had a very weird season last year where we played very well up until lockdown. Lockdown happened and we didn't win another game afterwards. And he was someone who was actually, you know, bossing the players who were like 30. He was telling, you know, our captain to get in position. He was shouting and things like that. Like for a 16-year-old, and the things he was able to do on the ball. There were some games where we just went like, we played Leeds, I think, of like 5-4 at home, and we were really out of it. And then he just, you know, took the ball from the halfway lane, ran and just scored and just pulled us back into the... I don't think Blues will ever see a player like Jude Bellingham again unless we get bought by some, you know, billionaire. And even then, we'd probably manage to mess it up. I think they're just players, isn't that you see and you just think, like, that's a different level.
Yeah.
And there's some players that I think it sounds a bit like lame, but it's like a privilege to watch, and he was just one of those. So Bowyer and Bellingham in the middle. Striker wise, I thought long and hard about this. Kevin Phillips does have to be there. Never have I seen a striker who could score goals the way he could score goals. I think he was just, again, another player who'd come in towards the end of his career and just, yeah, like, as you guys know, the things he could do with a football, and it felt like sometimes he could come on for a minute and just score a goal. Like, he was just a different level of player. And I think, yeah, to do what he did consistently to as many teams as he did at, it's just insane.
Absolutely.
So I think he's one of those underrated players. Actually, I don't think we'll ever see, you know, a player quite like him again, or an English player.
But considering he played till he was like 39, 40, like in the champion, I know like the last sort of 6 years of his 7 years of his career was spent in the championship, but he was still getting promoted with like Palace, like Birmingham yourselves, Leicester City. Got promoted with them. He nearly got promoted with Blackpool. They lost in the playoff final.
Yeah.
So he was special. He was a special player. I think like since he's retired, I think he gets a bit more recognition outside of just Sunderland fans.
Yeah.
Now for what he'd done.
Yeah.
Well, I think he came to us at like just a moment where we were, you know, just about, you know, not good enough, and it's just as you say, like, to do what he did consistently. You know, he's another cup winner for us. He won the cup with us. Like, I think, you know, a lot more teams, as you said, have started to see actually what he achieved, and I think, yeah, you know, not many players can say they've done that. I also there's a lot of players I looked at. Mikhail Forsell was one that I thought, you know, he was a different level, but I thought I kind of missed the, you know, his heyday when I was watching, so I didn't give him. Djukovic, as I think I spoke about earlier, who is just epitome of a Blues player. Not brilliant, but scores goals with his head and is, you know, tough and will work hard for 120 minutes if he has to. Che Adams, we had for a few seasons, scored 25 goals his last season with us. Was a different level, but Nikola Zigic takes it because, like, he was just, you know, he scored so many important goals. He scored that goal against Villa, cup final. He scored the first goal and then did the knockdown for the mistake on the second goal. Like, he ran at Arsenal ragged that day. And I think, like, for a player that I think we spent $6 million, it's a big signing, but he just came in. Yeah, he scored a fair few goals in the Premier League, and yeah, another cup winner. So gotta be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't argue with that. Have you got a manager?
I kind of cheated and have gone for a joint manager. They're taking control, both of them. At first it was Gary Rowett, and he is there. Gary Rowett, you know, came to us similar to as Bowyer is now, when we were rock bottom. We were just terrible. Like, we lost to Bournemouth 8-0. We couldn't, you know, pass to each other. We had a team made of free agents because we'd spent no money for the last 2 years, and he just turned us. You know, I look at, you know, we had Gary Monk, who was a great manager, even like the cup winning with McLeish and Bruce's promotions, but I never enjoyed a Blues team as much as I enjoyed watching Gary Rowett's team. It was never the most expansive football, but you just went into every game believing that you could win, and I think that's just something that a lot of teams don't have anymore, and we haven't this season. With him, it's got to be Chris Hughton. Chris Hughton, one season, but like, to get that team to the playoffs, a team that were relegated, all our best players left. Gardner left. You know, Sigic was pretty, you know, injured. He's kind of going. We had Ferguson left, Bowyer left, Ben Foster went. You know, all of our cup winning team basically went. Stephen Carr was pretty much finished by that point. And Hughton, he brought some good play. You know, he brought Chris Burke in. He got the best out of a team that probably wasn't good enough to get playoffs. Got to playoff semi-final. We played 60 games because we were in Europe as well. We've got the record for the most points in a group without actually getting through the group, which is the most Blues record ever. So I don't think I could choose between the two, really. So that's what I've got with Gary Rowett, with Chris Hughton, and that team would probably just about start to win something, but then lose it right at the end.
That's spot on, mate.
I like it. So just a quick run through of your 1 to 11.
So Joe Hart in goal, Stephen Carr, Scott Dan, Paul Robinson, Michael Morrison, then Paul Robinson, Chris Burke, Lee Bowyer, Jude Bellingham, Seb Larson, Nikola Sigic, and Kevin Phillips, with Rowett and Hughton as manager.
Nice. I like it.
Wow.
Spot on, mate.
That's it. Birmingham. That's Birmingham City knocked off.
Well, thanks for coming on, Huw.
We're going to have to do this again now. You can save your Lee Camps being talked about. That's yeah.
Hope you've enjoyed coming on, pal.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care, mate.
You take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. There we go.
So
That was Huw.
Birmingham City with Huw
Birmingham
Jones.
Is
I
that-
didn't know whether to buy him a pint or give him a cuddle.
I don't know. They've had some.
They've had some bad times.
They have, haven't they?
Get something about it, like.
We're gonna have to get like an Arsenal fan or like a Man United fan from like Moss Side or something, because some of the fans we've had on are just doom and gloom. We're gonna have to get some glory days on, man.
Nah, I like it. It makes me feel better about being a Sunderland fan. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bless him. So
No,
thanks
so
to Huw.
just as usual, fans of any club are welcome.
Absolutely. Just hit us up on social media and we'll do it.
Yeah, you're welcome on. Any fans welcome on. Drop us a message on Twitter at Prawn Podcasts. Message us on Instagram, prawn_.
Oh,
What a time to freeze.
What a time to freeze, Jimmy Jackson.
As we have said as well, if you already know us, just drop us a text.
Yep. So
I froze.
yeah, you
You went
froze,
off.
mate.
I froze. Oh shit.
It'd be right, mate. It'd be right. They know where to get us. They know where to get us.
I think that's as good a time as any for me to call it. Yeah. You can see us out there.
Yeah, no problem. So thanks to Huw for coming on. Thanks to Jamie. Thanks to Dylan. Thanks to our sponsors, the Apple Tree Pub in Carlisle, and obviously T7 Clothing, where every creation is different. Social media, all that stuff, you know where to find us. And ciao. We'll see you later. Arrivederci.
See you next week.
How's the bacon, did you say?
It's Duta. Oh, what a fantastic hit! Roy Keane on Haaland. Here's Sancho.